From Music for All and presented by Yamaha, it's With a Little Help from My Friends, an unscripted conversation with master teachers. Tonight on the program, we welcome our friends from Mason, Ohio, Avious Jackson. From the Woodlands, Texas, Joni Perez. And from Avon, Indiana, Dean Westman. I'm your host, James Stevens. Avious Jackson, band director at William Mason High School in Ohio, was glad that the Mason band community was still able to come together for their marching band show reveal. The annual show reveal has become a greatly anticipated event for the students and families at Mason High School. Under normal circumstances, Mason staff would have been able to produce a video to present to the reveal to everyone in the school auditorium in May. Since they didn't have access to the auditorium or even the school building, a local drive-in theater hosted the show reveal, allowing students and their families to come together safely in their own cars to watch the video. The Mason Band is committed to providing whatever experiences they can in the spirit of helping the band remain a point of connection for the band community. In addition to his work with the band, Avious got married in May. Working with the challenges presented by the pandemic, Avious was able to gather exactly 10 people to attend the wedding in person and work to have the ceremony live streamed to remaining family and friends. Jodie Perez, director of bands at the Woodlands High School in Texas, has been working with her team to build relationships and strengthen the culture of the program through both in-person and virtual activities. They were fortunate enough to meet with students on occasion over the summer and used that time to teach and begin training for the upcoming school year and to start incorporating strategies and plans for operating efficiently and safely under new restrictions and guidelines. Joni has been impressed that students have been wonderful about complying with new expectations and requirements while also applying themselves musically and physically at a high level. Joni is excited to have been able to see them both in person and online to keep the community culture and performance excellence moving forward. When one of his students expressed the desire to find a stage during a time when live music making seemed impossible, Avon High School Director of Orchestras, Dean Westman, found a way to make it happen. A local hospice care center was looking for ways to involve the community in making the best end-of-life experience possible for residents. Avon School's superintendent was able to link Dean with Hospice Care Center's leadership and bring the students' idea of a chamber music club to life.
Abby Hackett, junior to be at Avon High School, had an idea. She'd been working to set up a chamber music club, which ultimately led to a very surprising summer concert series.
When you can really see them and make that audience to player connection, it's so much better.
I can't put that in words. I don't know how to put that into words.
The nice thing with music is he doesn't have to.
You're making their last few moments as good as possible because that's why we're here.
This orchestra, which includes current and alumni members from Avon High School, ends every Friday performance by going door to door to patients' patios. Marge has a very special signal. If her door is open, she wants to hear some fiddle. The estimate is by the time these kids return to play the following Friday, 3 of the 5 stops they made on this day will no longer be with us.
They've come to learn that's like an incredible honor, that you were the last person to give them that gift of music.
I saw a student last week play Somewhere Over the Rainbow for somebody as they were actively passing. That's as human of a connection as they get. that could never be taught in a classroom, and that's why I teach.
It's just communicating that love through music, and it's amazing.
Please welcome my friends, Avious Jackson, Joni Perez, and Dean Westman. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Music for Alls with a little help from my friends, presented by Yamaha. I'm James Stevens, and I'm thrilled to be surrounded by some great people tonight, and thank you for choosing to join us. Remember, you can call in tonight with your questions or to offer your own thoughts by dialing our call-in number, 317-636-2263. I don't know, if you're like me, you're 5'8" and named James, and sometimes you just want to have a platform where you can ask any random question. So tonight you're in luck because we've got Haley standing by waiting for your call. So if you dial in right now, we'll bring you in live on the show in just a little bit. That number again, 317-636-2263. Our Haleys are standing by. So 'tis the season for returning to school. And since that means a lot of different things to different programs and communities right now, I'd like to start off tonight by asking each of you, friends, where you are with the start of your school year. Avious, can we start with you?
Absolutely. We have been just so lucky to have lots of support to get us going, and we've been doing marching band for about 6 weeks now with very smoothly, with no incident and everything like that. And this week, actually, we started school with what I call a soft opening. We alternated days and had 50% of our building population in on each day. Wednesday, we did a remote day to practice remote learning just in case we would need to revert back to that. And then next Monday, the 31st, is going to be our grand opening, as I'm calling it, with all the students that have signed up back in school. They have the option to choose to come to school in person, or they have the option to attend school remotely. And our administration worked with us, and they're actually going to let students who opted to attend remotely have the option to come in just for band. So that's one of those things that, I mean, we've been so lucky that the administration has worked with us and the parents have worked with us to just give a fantastic experience to the students through all of this.
Thank you, Avious. Joni, welcome back to school.
Yes, hello. So we have been fortunate enough to meet with our students a handful of times over the summer. Just leading into the start of the school year, we met with them about 4 times during June, and we started our summer practices on July 21st. And then the 2 weeks going into school, we decided to just go all virtual as we plan to lead into the start of school, which was August 12th. The first 3.5 weeks for our school district is virtual learning, so it's all learning from home. However, extracurriculars are allowed to come up and work after school during that time. And so we have been doing that starting last week again as we lead into September 7th and 8th, which is when the in-person instruction will begin. So all of the students that are choosing in person will start coming onto campus the week of September 7th. And all those who are choosing to stay home, we will continue to teach them online. So we're going to have a blended model. That week that we return to school is also coincidentally the week that we can start learning our show drill. And so we're all very anxious and curious to see how it all goes and see if we can keep things moving forward.
Oh, that's great. Dean, Westman, you guys are probably about ready for fall break now, right?
Yeah, greetings from the future. James, thanks so much for having us. And I'm so excited for people to get to know Avious and get to hear what he has to say. And to be able to hang with Joni, who's one of like my oldest Texas pals and one of my Texas band director heroes. I'm really excited to be a part of this. But yeah, we're a little bit in the future. We, at least in our part of the world, Avon was the first school to close down in very early March 9th. We were also the first in the state to open up, and we are finishing our 5th week of school. And we have done everything. We started full blown in person and did that for 2 weeks. And that's actually what the K through 8s have been doing in person, all masked up all the time. The high school had a spike in some numbers with quarantines and such. So we've done 2 weeks of in person with everybody there, about 2 weeks of virtual learning with none of the kids there. And now we're in like week 1.5 of what we're calling a hybrid, where we see 50% of the students live, while the other 50% are just like you guys are to me on a computer screen, experiencing the class through their computer, and then they kind of flip-flop. So we've done a little bit of everything so far. And I'll tell you next week what we're doing next week.
The variety is definitely out there. Everybody is hearing all sorts of different versions of face-to-face, online, hybrid. But let's dig in. Let's dig in with the friends here tonight, or make like my old high school prom dates fingernails and press on, as they say. Some questions that we had submitted earlier through our website. Let's take a look at some of those questions right now. So this first one comes to us here from Jed in South Carolina. Says, not necessarily related to teaching kids, but how do you keep a positive attitude and manage the stress and anxiety during this time of uncertainty? Dean, can we start with you?
Well, I'm managing it flawlessly, personally, James. No, I think this could be the most important question we talk about all night, because I would imagine people who watch this, not everybody's where I'm at 5 weeks in, and I bet you a whole bunch of people, they're going through the stages of anxiety we go through you're dealing with in the buildup. And I would just say it's okay to feel all the feelings that you are feeling. And sometimes it's easy, especially for younger music educators, to look at perhaps those people like us through the social media lens and think like, oh man, those guys have it so together, or look at how, whatever they're doing. And you should just know we're a mess too. Like, I mean, and I mean that in a funny way and in a serious way. Everybody's feeling the same anxiety, and it's okay. And it's okay to be riddled with anxiety about your personal health and the health of your students, and want to be with them 24/7, making music with them. All of the feelings that people are feeling are okay. And hopefully we can talk about that, because I'd love to hear what these other guys are doing. Keeping a positive attitude, is something that we obviously have to do at school and in front of our kids, but you also have to allow yourself the opportunity to be a human being and to, be a person, be a human. So I guess I would just jump right off the cliff by telling everybody, whatever anxiety you're feeling, I bet you I'm feeling it too. Ask my wife.
Yeah, it's normal. And I think, like you said, Dean, it's almost like that Facebook thing where you see everybody else's perfect life and, oh my gosh, that perfect dessert. And you're like, I don't know that my life can compare to that. We're all dealing with it. Joni, how are you managing the stress, the anxiety?
Well, I want to piggyback on what Dean said. I think, I'll say personally, I've gone through a range of emotions, and I think it's important to allow yourself to do that. When this first all started happening back in March, I handled it all pretty well for a while, and I think that's partly because we had already been doing some things online last semester that allowed us to seamlessly kind of go into that virtual environment. I'm not going to say I enjoyed it or liked it, but we didn't have to completely figure things out, and so we handled ourselves pretty well there for a while. And I remember I'm going kind of through my stages here. I remember myself and the students were all just holding out hope that we're going to get back in school, and so you hang on to that and you hang on to that. And I distinctly remember the day finding out that we weren't going to end up going back to school. And, and that's when I cracked. I mean, I cried, and I thought about my seniors, and, you know, I cried with them that day in our Zoom class, um, because it was sad, you know, and I wanted them to know that I was hurting with them and for them for that. You know, I think that was important to have that moment with them too, just because they have to see that it's okay to be upset about these things. And, you know, we're losing these opportunities, and kind of feel that together, and then kind of pick ourselves back up and keep on moving. And that's what we did. Um, and, you know, I realized, of course, you know, I got to pull it together. I got to make sure that, you know, I'm doing what I need to do for my kids. And we finished out the year. And then you go into the summer, and I mean, it was just, the summer was nuts, not knowing anything about anything, and just waiting and waiting and waiting. And that anxiety of not knowing what's going to happen, and not having any direction, and not having any answers, and the weight that comes on you as a director. You know, we're planners, right? I think all of us on this call, we're like super planners. And so when we didn't have that ability, it really rocks your world. And so, you know, going through all of that and figuring out how to manage that anxiety and manage the unknowns, and kind of come to a place where you realize, you know, okay, these are the things that I can control. These are the things that I can do. I'm going to have to wait for these other things. I'm going to have to be okay with it. And in the meantime, focus on, you know, what the kids are going to need, and what you can do to bring as much normalcy to their life as possible. And I'm going to tell you, from like an attitude standpoint, and just like how to deal with all this emotionally, the second I started working with kids again, so much of that stuff evaporated. And I have a feeling it's probably like that for many of the people on this call as well. As we've got all this anxiety pent up, and all this nervousness and this worry, and sometimes it feels overwhelming. But the second the kids are a part of the equation, a lot of that just kind of melts away, and we're able to kind of see past all of that, and get back to the human part of what we do, and make those kids important, and make what we're doing while we're with them the most important thing. So, experience the emotions, but know that the kids, like, you know, they're going to accept it and accept you, and they're going to feel all that with you. And once they're part of things, like, you could just keep going and do anything. And that's what I've discovered with myself.
Joni, thank you. Just the showing your emotions to your kids, and just being raw and real. That's so important. Avious, talk to us about the positive attitude.
Yeah, I mean, so much of what they've already said, that's exactly what I was feeling too. To echo Joni, I was not, and I told the students this, I think recently, that I was not fully prepared for the positive impact being in front of them was going to have on me. And I was so nervous and worried about the prepping for how to do the rehearsals and all of this different environment. But, you know, it was like none of that mattered. The moment that we started, you know, getting in front of the students and teaching again, I mean, it was almost like seeing an old friend, and just being able to catch up and step right back into the conversations you were in before. And it made me feel so at ease to be able to do that. And one thing I was really proud of is that our district and our professional development, they actually put a lot of focus in our opening professional development into mental health and wellness. And one thing that really stuck with me was telling us to make sure that you put your oxygen mask on first before you help others, and to take that time to make sure that you're okay with yourself. And part of that is acknowledging and accepting the difficulty of the situation, and saying, yeah, this is really difficult, and you're allowed to feel that, just like Joni was saying, and then like taking that moment, and then figuring out, okay, well, what am I going to do, and how am I going to move forward from here, and then not being afraid to reach out to. I found myself having a lot of Zoom meetings where I talked to a lot of other band directors, and we talked about band, but then we also talked a lot about life, and just having that connection helped me a lot to just make sense of all of this.
No, that's great, Avious. And, you know, here's the thing I'm thinking is, as I just step back here for a minute, is the people across the country who are looking over, just stressed is all get out, and they're going, Dean Westman, Joni Perez, Avious Jackson, they're going through the same things, and we're all kind of leaning on each other. And that's what we need right now. Joni?
Yeah, I just want to add something else too. I remember also a turning point for me, in case this is valuable to anyone, when I stopped watching the news. We're so just obsessed right now, I think, with what's going on out there, and the news can be really overwhelming. And if you're like I was over a part of the summer, watching the news pretty regularly, it really can wear you down. And I guess what I'm just trying to say is give advice out there that if that's something you find yourself doing often, it's probably not helping bring your anxiety level down when you're talking about how can I have a better attitude, how can I bring down my anxiety. The second I stopped making that a part of my daily routine, it turned around a lot for me. So that, coupled with starting to see the kids, whether that was on a computer in person, made all the difference.
No, that's a good point. You got to figure out what it is that is going to not disrupt your happy place. And if it's the news, because it can just get you down. There's always a Cartoon Network or Game Show Network to take a look at. So the next question we have here is Jonathan in Michigan, who says, how important is it to market yourself to your district as cutting edge? Dean, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I would say, who asked that question again?
This is Jonathan in Michigan.
Jonathan, yeah. What I would say, Jonathan, is I would reword the question slightly and make it more about relevance than about cutting edge. Right now, I think this is the perfect time. I guess any time would have been, but to make your program feel indispensable, feel so much a part of the fabric of your community that people can't picture their community without it. I think that hospice thing has been kind of our proof that it can work. In the middle of a pandemic, I was able to get the smallest group of kids together in a safe way. And we have gotten, in a very supportive community for the arts, we've gotten more love from that than we did from Midwest or back-to-back state championships or anything like that. So it's about finding ways to be relevant and show that we are more than an extra, that the arts are essential, and that at the program. So I would say that's where, even I thought it was awesome watching, I think, Joni's program in that video. The intro is almost kind of proof of my point. There's an emphasis on culture and community. And what's the video clip we saw? It wasn't them playing like some crazy, insane, like Grand Nats finalist OMG moment. They were playing a pop tune, like they were playing like something from Hairspray. So she's making it about culture and community, and I love to hear kind of what those guys have to think about it. But I would say, I think the spirit of the question he's asking is that, like, how do I make us, I don't think it's about being cutting edge. I think it's about making yourself just like oxygen within your community, where the kids, the parents, the school board, admin, they know that you are just giving these kids everything they need. Social, I know I'm blabbing, but social emotional learning is not a term us music educators made up. That's something that educational leaders and administrators came up in the early 90s as a concept. It just so happens to be what music educators have been doing forever, but this is now the perfect time to unleash the power of music within the realm of social emotional learning.
Dean, wow, man, we unpacked a lot there. I want to get back to the real quick, just the hospice piece, because again, Jonathan's asking about, you're how to be relevant, I think is what you're saying. And I think that, I look at what you and your students did there, and I'm kind of like advocacy in action. Anyone, it checks community engagement box. It checks recruitment. Which parent wouldn't look at what your students are doing and go, when you get old enough, you're going to be a part of that orchestra program, because that's pretty special stuff.
And James, most importantly, and this is very intentionally why we did this. I know when I was like a music ed major in like the late 80s at the University of Illinois, I thought like Marian Catholic kids were all like 6'8", and like their instruments were handed to them by like members of the Chicago Symphony, and like that's just what I thought they were. And then you realize like, oh, no. It's just the world's greatest band director doing amazing things with kids. And my point is, sometimes I think people look at name programs and think, well, of course they can do that. The whole point of the hospice thing is to show like anywheresville, USA, you can find a nursing home, a hospital, a hospice, and you can pick a small group of kids and do that. So it is advocacy in action, but it's advocacy in action that doesn't cost a dime, gets you a ton of love and support in return, is an amazing teachable opportunity for the kids. I haven't found a lose in it yet. We've just found win-win-wins.
Well, and you cannot get not find yourself get emotional when you're just watching that and just get choked up. Avious, want to turn to you here real quick to just go back to Jonathan's question on just being relevant within your district.
Yeah, I really agree with Dean, and that I'm right there with you. I saw that, and I just, wow, it hit me in the feels, and that really does speak to the power that music has, and it really speaks to what your program can do in your community. And of course, when we went into the remote learning in last March, we did a lot of research. Well, how do we do this? How do we do this? I got a microphone, and I got my whole setup and my audio interface system. We made sure that smart music was going, and we had all these ways to connect with the students. And I did a survey at the end of our remote time, and I just asked, what did you like about this? What did you like about this? What was your favorite thing? And by far, the kids said, well, we just like being able to talk to each other, because that was not available to them. Being in a situation where no one was leaving home, they were just starving for that connection. And that is the thing that I think all of our programs can offer to everyone. I'm sure everyone, anyone watching, anyone who's going to watch, every music teacher in the world can think of a situation where they've been able to talk to a parent or administrator and say, this particular student, they have a hard time everywhere else, but they love coming to sing. They love coming to orchestra. They love coming to band. And that's the true value of what I think we can bring to our community, is that connection piece. And I just love the hospice thing. I can't wait. We need to do something like that. I couldn't wait for that.
Joni, I want to turn to you for this next question, actually, from Tori in Louisiana, which we're thinking about you right now, Tori, with Hurricane Laura out there, no doubt. So here's the question from Tori. How can I create a sense of unity and camaraderie with young kids using a virtual platform?
Sure. Yeah. This piggybacks a lot on what Avious was just talking about, how the kids right now, especially, they're just craving to want to be together. And if you can't have your kids be together in person, there are absolutely ways to create that connectivity and help them, just become more of a bonded group on the virtual platform. And one of the things that I realized really quickly last spring, we've taken it into this fall as well, is, such a big part of the reason that kids do music and performing arts is the fact that they get to do all these things together with their friends, right? And so how do we provide that sense, again, of community in this situation. And I realized, we've got to take time every time we meet online. If you meet them every day, Monday through Friday, you've got to set aside at least a few minutes every day. Some days it would be 20 minutes or 30 minutes where you just, stop and talk about a certain subject. Or, we had bring your pet to Zoom class day, and everybody got to introduce their pets. And, that has nothing to do with music, but it immediately gives those kids a sense of belonging, of, hey, like, this is me sharing a little bit about myself. I get to share part of me with you, and you're sharing part of yourself with me. And again, it has nothing to do with, learning how to play a concert F in tune or balancing a chord or anything like that, because it's something that they need. And, we would have virtual background days where, hey, pick a picture for your virtual background of one of the favorite places you've been and talk to us about it, right? Or pick a virtual background of a place that you want to go one day and tell us why that's something that you want to do. And so again, that just kind of gives you a window into what those kids are about, what makes them tick, and it allows them to express themselves, in a way that they wouldn't normally get to do in even a regular classroom environment. And so when we were in the spring semester, we made that a big focus. Maybe one day it was just, hey, I'm going to ask everybody about their weekend, and everybody's got to tell me something about their weekend, right? That could take 10 or 15 minutes out of the time, but it's absolutely worth it. Another day, you might spend 30 whole minutes talking about something. There were times where I took an entire class and just said, hey, let's have a Q&A. I bet you guys have a lot of questions about things, and we're just going to have a Q&A. No, nothing's off the table. You can ask me anything you want. It could be about, what's going to happen in the next few weeks. It could be about, if you want to ask me about, my college experience or whatever, and just let them talk and visit. It can be really easy. It doesn't have to be involved, So there's lots of things that you can do. Just don't make it about teaching all the time. Make it about visiting. Make it about providing opportunities just to talk and visit and connect. And they will love that. They may not tell you that. They may not show it to you outwardly or in an obvious way, but it means a lot to them to have those opportunities. And that's what we do, and it works. And, when you see kids smiling out there, then you know that it's meaningful and something you want to keep doing.
I'd like to piggyback because I totally agree, Joni, and it makes me, I think of the music educator that is maybe a little further into their career and is not so tech savvy. And I think like that's the educator that probably has the most anxiety with this. I see my sister Cam Stasa is attending, and I'm thinking of a time about 15 years ago. It was actually when Bands of America and Music for All were coming together to become one organization. And we went out to California and got to meet and visit with the amazing and late, great Sir Ken Robinson. And I remember him speaking about technology immigrants and technology natives. And people of a certain age, and I do fall into that, we weren't raised, I took typing in high school. And then there's that, but what we have to remember, and I think Joni's point speaks to this because it awesome opportunity for students to drive the experience and to have ownership, is to remember, for teachers that are immigrants to technology, to remember that our students are not, and so many amazing young educators are not. And there's so many resources out there, many of which Music for All are providing. Because the bottom line is you cannot replace the face-to-face human. It can't be replaced. We know that. But there is a myriad of ways you can come at it. And I think, to Joni's point, let the technology native speakers have ownership, because it's going to also help create, I would think, Avious better leaders within the program.
Yeah, just amazing things happening here. And I just got to say, jumping back to Joni for just a minute, Joni, we've all seen your band on a national stage, and to just, I think for folks to hear you just talk about, it's not only about the music, and to take the time to be human and real with your kids, especially now. That's the culture that I think that Dean was underscoring a little bit earlier when he was, giving you and your program so much credit.
Well, and if you don't mind, I think
Please.
this is a great opportunity for us us, people are so driven, and like you're just every day is, scheduled to the minute, and this is what we're going to do this minute, and this is what we're going to do this minute, to have this opportunity just to be human with the kids and just like, hey, let's just forget about all this stuff for a while, and let's just enjoy being together. And just reminds us of the importance of those relationships. And the relationships have always been, at the forefront of what I'm doing at the Woodlands and what our staff is doing. But this has driven that home, and shines an even brighter light on it. And so I think it's important for directors out there to just let go of all of those other nuts and bolts right now and allow this to be a time to just connect together as a group. Because if we're not able to be together making music all the time, you at least want to be able to create that sense of community and family so that those kids have all of that to look forward to, right? They're invested in what hopefully is going to happen in the near future. And I think that by doing that, you are establishing, a really strong foundation for them to want to go to the next thing and to look forward to what's to come by building that community.
Hey, James, could we maybe let's speak, and I'm gonna totally throw Avious a curveball because I don't know, I want to, but I think it would be important, and I see this question from Glenn out there, to speak to beginners, and specifically within this context, because I think everything Joni and I are talking about, building culture and relationships, when they're in high school or maybe even middle school, you can do that. But what about that band or orchestra or choir director that they're starting beginners in this kind of medium? I mean, the only thing that I can say is we're having to do that in Avon a little bit. Like, they made it where the first month or so of it, no band, choir, or orchestra. Those folks were just doing basically general music until we could kind of get some procedures and protocols in place. And it seemed like they used it from a beginner standpoint as one big cheerleading session, which to me made sense. Like, so to that big, I would love to hear what either of you, but Avious, what you have to say, how in a virtual world, when it's not about building culture, but it's about fifth or sixth graders that are like, this is the first way they're learning band is through a computer screen. How do we capture those kids?
Well, it's interesting because I've always kind of thought no matter what level we're teaching, the number one mission has always been to teach the love and appreciation of music. And it strikes me that an advantage that you have with beginners, if they're coming to it virtually or if they're coming to it in a hybrid in person, they don't know what band is at all anyway. Like, we are in the driver's seat to show them what that looks like, to just, number one, get them excited about doing whatever it is that they can do. Like, because whatever we make band for them, that is band because they're new to it. So even if we kind of have to heavily rely on, well, this is what we do right now, but next year, oh my goodness, you just wait until next year when we can get together and we can do all these things. Taking that opportunity to instill that love of music, that I think is going to be the first job and the most important job in the online medium.
So, Avious, that almost sounds like what you're saying, and what everybody's saying here tonight is it's not about the ensemble name. I'm not the director of the ensemble. I'm a music teacher. I mean, let's all say I teach music, right? And then Avious, I don't know if you wanted to, just comment also. I mean, I've been in the William Mason band room, and you walk in there and the camaraderie and unity, sense of all that just hits you right in the face. I mean, anything to add in terms of just that a sense of culture that you guys are continuing to develop there?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, because we were in a situation in the spring, and I know a lot of people are in the situation where, well, how do you even recruit if you can't get kids together? So our entire intermediate school music team, they built this website. We got together with our local music store, and they were able to set up ways for kids to. They made videos of all of the instruments being tried out. We sent some students in to demonstrate. And I think the strength that we have comes in our community and our ability to all wrap our arms around something. And that's, I mean, I know that's something that I feel every day with our team. And I know that that's probably the thing I feel the most lucky about, that not everyone has in their own district. Not everyone has. I mean, we have 7 music teachers in our district. Some people are in a situation where it's just them, but you have to find your tribe no matter where you are. Even if it's just you in your district, there might be someone else in another district that is in the same boat. Don't be afraid to reach out to them and find your tribe and find, well, how are you doing this? That sense of community for us as directors is by far my favorite thing about teaching here, the sense of community we have with the parents and the students, that collaborative effort. So finding a way to have that collaborative effort, even if you're by yourself, is, I think, critical to being successful in that.
No, that's well said. And there still is time, folks out there. The unique thing about this webinar is the opportunity that you have to call in with your questions and join the conversation live on the broadcast. So pick up the phone, the number again, 317-636-2263. We want to hear your voice, and don't you want to say something to Joni, Dean, and Avious?
This is exactly why I did not give this out to my mom.
Oh, that would have been great to hear, Mrs. Westman.
No.
I think that would bring this to a whole new level. Are you sure, Dean? Why don't you reach out and have her call in?
Next question, next subject, please.
We got to get her in here.
Nope.
I do have another question here from, this is Keith in Colorado. How can we best develop connections with kids, especially our new students, when we aren't working with them face to face? And Dean?
That's kind of what I think we were trying to get at there. And this is one where, you have to know what are the parameters that you are safely allowed to operate under. For example, some people it might have to be 100% online. Some school programs like Avon, even when we did go e-learning for those couple of weeks, co-curriculars and extracurriculars still happened. And so it's the hospice thing. It's looking for what's a safe outside way to try to, so you got, there are people that probably through the computer screen is the only option. I'm going to let the other panelists speak to that. I will tell you, when I was in that mode, we just tried to, and I think this gets back to what we were talking about at the very beginning about mental health and teacher health. There's an arc to a school year. We are planners. And if you think about it, we have these rise and fall. The marching band ramps up to this big thing, right? And then we regroup, and then perhaps it's solo and ensemble season or whatever. And then, however it works, there's this. But then what do most of us have during the summer, unless you're crazy like me and Joni and doing drum corps? What most music educators have is some time to rest and recover, recharge the batteries, so that when you come back rejuvenated. The reality is that didn't happen for any of us, for any educator. For my wife, who's a biology teacher, And in a lot of ways, I would imagine, I feel like last year never ended. This feels like just one big extension. And so any way you can have a human connection, even if it has to be electronic. Last year, the only thing that mattered to me from March until May was the class of 2020 and being present for them in any way that I could to let them know that what they are going through, A, sucks, and B, because of it, I think they're going to change the world. And now the only thing I worry about is today and tomorrow. You know, and that would be my message from the future, from like 5 weeks in. And it speaks to how Joni said, we are planners. We are goal-oriented human beings. It's why we became music teachers. Music educators go for 100% on every exam. That's the kind of human beings we are. And now we've taken, in a lot of ways, the performing out of performing arts. And we have to, on a dime, change to this growth mindset and making it about every day providing a positively life-changing experience for your kids in any way that you can. And for me right now, it might be the 10-minute mask break where we walk the kids safely outside, spread them out. They take their masks off and I say, can I just see your smiles for a few minutes? And that look in their eyes when they know, like this is probably like, I shouldn't even admit this out loud, but I walked up to one of my violinists halfway through the day. I said, can you just hold your breath for 3 seconds, lift it up, smile, and put it back down? Because I need to see your smile. I haven't seen it since March. And so whatever means necessary to meet the needs of the kids.
Dean, I love you, brother. I mean, you're the best of the best, truly, and your kids are so blessed to have you as one of their mentors, for sure. What's interesting, as you were speaking, and going back to Keith's question here about the connections, especially with new students. You know, Joni, you were talking a little bit earlier about how you're being real. You know Johnny, you know Susie. So when you see them on Zoom and you're kind of checking in with them, that's one thing. But especially the kids, that you don't know as well. How are you managing that? Especially as Dean mentioned earlier, the social emotional learning component is, we know that every student, every individual has dealt with some sort of loss. Some of them have lost a loved one, and others it's more, monumental events and things. But how are you making those connections, Joni, with the kids you don't maybe know as well?
Well, that's a great question. And last spring, we started going into the end of the year knowing, okay, we're not going to get to see our 8th graders before they come to the high school level. What can we do to, get them connected with our program? Because we can't do our 8th grade marching. We can't do the things that we normally do where we've got some of the student leaders come over. We can't do the freshman only leadership thing that we usually do. So one of the things that we did a couple different things. One of those was I selected several students from my leadership team to make a video like, hi, I'm Susie Q and I play the flute and I'm going to be a senior this year. And this is one of the things I'm super excited about this next year. And I'm so excited to meet the new 8th graders. And I'm so glad you're going to be joining us. Here's my number. If you have any questions, I'm here for you, that kind of a thing. And so we did that with maybe about 10 different kids in the leadership team. And I posted their videos on our freshman band app group, so they could just watch it and start to get to know faces, first of all, like, hey, that's a face that I remember from that video, or hey, that's Joseph, I remember his name and he's a horn player, I play horn, he gave his number, I have these questions, this is awesome, I can reach out to him, right? So that's one of the things that we did, just to let those kids have an outlet to ask for advice or someone they could go to start getting connected with the older kids. And I had a bunch of my leadership team kids tell me, somebody texted me tonight and asked me about blah 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 blah. And so we know that was working, which was really cool. The other thing that we did is we set up Big Brother, Big Sister with our juniors and seniors, mostly our seniors, with a freshman. And so we've coupled them all up. I had my president, my vice president do all those assignments, and each freshman has their big. So they've got a big, and every big has a little. And they all made introductory videos of themselves, like all the juniors and seniors made an introductory video that would get sent to their little. And they all made little goodie bags, yay for the first week of school, yay for being in band, and a little personal letter. We did a little survey, we're calling a sibling survey, where the big brother and little brother, or big brother and little sister, would exchange a survey, and it asks things like, what's your favorite color, what's your favorite candy, what's your favorite movie, what's your favorite Disney character, what's your, things like that, so that they can start to kind of get to know some basic things about each other. And when it's time to do a little gift, hey, it's the first football game, or it's the first day of school, or it's the first marching rehearsal, here's your favorite candy bar and a little note from me that says, we're proud of you, we're excited, and everything like that. So those are just a few things that we've done to try and bring those new members more into the fold. And it's been working pretty well. And we're at the point now where, the kids will just go directly to their big brother or big sister when they need help with an assignment, or, what are we supposed to wear, or what are we supposed to bring, that kind of a thing. And so that's been something that's worked really well for us.
No, that's great, and I just think that the ideas here are just plentiful. I mean, hopefully folks are taking notes, because there's just lots of ideas, engagement, and there's something that you said there that actually this next question from Susan in California relates, and even Avious, to kind of circle back to the question that Glenn had, more at the beginning and younger student end of things. So this is what Susan in California is saying. The question is, most students join band in middle school to be with their friends, or orchestra or choir, obviously. When kids can't participate with their friends and enjoy music together due to social distancing mandates, how are we going to continue the recruitment and the retention of our programs? And, what Joni mentioned a minute ago about just, engaging the older kids to even, do instrument demos, do videos where you're doing the recruitment, where normally you would have a thing where maybe you're taking the kids out to the middle school and doing that kind of thing. You might not have that opportunity right now. So how do you activate your older kids? So Avious, I guess, leaning on you a little bit to just go, what thoughts do you have right now to help those at the middle school and the beginning level dealing with things and the circumstances that were, the cards were dealt right now, I guess?
Yeah, and as Joni was talking about that, I started to remember, like, oh yeah, we did do that in terms of having the older kids do the instrument demos, but there's nothing saying that you can't continue that kind of big brother, big sister relationship. First of all, I mean, the high school kids that you might ask to do that in your program would be absolutely honored, I'm betting, to do something like that they were even asked, and they'd be willing to commit their time to it. But then not only that, as much as I hate to admit it, in the eyes of, the sixth graders or fifth graders, whenever you start band, those high school kids are a lot cooler than I am, to those to those fifth and sixth graders, and they can connect with them in a way that I can't, because they just got done living that. And I would not be afraid at all to lean into that and to figure out, even if it doesn't even have to be high school, even just to get a seventh grader, say, hey, I want you to teach this person how to hold the instrument. What a great test for a seventh grader, and for them to show off what they've learned. I'm sure they would be thrilled, number one, to show someone, and I'm sure they would do a good job of being thorough and demonstrating all those things. And that connection, I think, is even stronger, because if a sixth grader or a fifth grader is looking at a seventh grader, they're saying, oh, that's me. That's me in a year, or that's me in 2 years. And that, I think, is the most important thing right now into doing the recruiting piece and the retention and continuing to build our programs. Because I keep remembering, one of my college professors would say, students recruit students. And I think he's absolutely right.
And
So,
what an amazing opportunity for the future music educators within your high school program. And we all have those. And that could be freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, where you could give them opportunities where they could be teaching online group lessons after school to beginners. I don't know. I honestly, if it's me as a brass player, I'd way rather have my best clarinet player at Avon High School, who's going to be a future band director, working with the beginners online than me or Matt Harloff. And I think Matt Harloff would agree with me. So that'd be an opportunity where with any program, we all have those kids that are just dying to get opportunities to lead and to teach and to inspire. That can all happen. And if we can all remember what it's like to be that little kid, what Avious just said, it's spot on. I mean, I think about why I got into it, and it wasn't because of a band director. It was because it was a high school kid that I looked up to.
Right. And so, whenever we started to do those videos of, hey, let's just post a kid on here so they can start to see those faces, and kind of like what I was imagining was how like fearful those 8th graders had to have been feeling going into the summer, knowing high school was going to start, not having any clue what was going to happen. And you create that environment where, they start to see other faces and see some of those older kids doing what we're wanting them to do, and talking about their experience and sharing their experience and sharing what they've learned. And it just makes them feel, I'm hopeful that it just makes them feel more at ease with what they're about to do, because we want them to be excited about it. But how can they be excited when they don't really know what's going to happen? And we don't even know what's going to happen. So giving the students the ability to bring those kids in to like our cool club, I think really goes a long way, more than what the directors can do, just like what Dean and Avious have said as well.
no, this has been so much fun hanging with you guys. Avious, with a little help from our friends, I think it was Victoria Mraz who said this is like therapy for music educators, and so you're a neighbor state away in Ohio, and then I'm just seeing Ohio saying we're doing this, no, now we're going to do this, and plan for this, and now we've changed our minds. So I guess last thought for folks today, Avious, is how do you press on without feeling frustrated, and what final message do you have for folks that are here with us today?
That's a great question. And I think that one of the things that we resolved to do early on was we decided, okay, whatever the parameters are that we are given, we are going to give the absolute best experience that we can in that set of circumstances. And honestly, the thing that has helped me press on has been like the students are absolutely gracious and thankful for everything that you are doing right now. Even if they haven't gotten a chance to tell you yet, they are, because so many parents and students have reached out to us already just to say, thank you for making something happen. Thank you for not just saying, okay, we're not going to do anything. Just they're very, very appreciative of whatever it is that you have to offer, because this is a big part of their lives. And it's weird to say, but this might be probably my favorite marching band season so far. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to say it. And the reason why is because, we know, the students know they're not going to Grand Nationals. We don't have like a local circuit that's doing anything, but they are doing this with a wholehearted investment every day with basically the same hours just for us. They haven't let up a bit. And that has made it so easy to show up every day and to give all that I have, because they are giving it right back to me. and really, they have been inspiring through all of this. They've worked just as hard as if we were going to Grand Nationals at the end of the season. If you came to a rehearsal right now, you almost wouldn't know that anything was different, except that the people are wearing masks everywhere, and they get their temperature checked before they came in. And that right there is the thing that makes it so worth it. And just don't take that for granted, and just be thankful for that, because if they haven't told you that yet, believe me, they are feeling that, and that's truly something special about this year.
Thank you, Avious. So Joni, Avious said this is his favorite marching band season ever. I'm not going to ask you to rank all your seasons, but certainly with the conversation today, we've learned from you. Your kids have seen a side of you that they normally probably wouldn't have, and they know how much you care about them. They know how much your own stress level and dedication to their well-being is such a high priority for you. What final words do you have for folks out there to just keep on keeping on?
Well, thank you for all of that. And what Avious said just a few minutes ago is really just not to take anything for granted. I had a senior who graduated this past year. He got the John Philip Sousa Award, and he made a little speech on our virtual banquet. And at the end of it, it was what a lot of kids needed to hear. He talked about, our final concert that we had right before everything got shut down. We had a concert on March the 8th. March the 9th was the day we went into spring break, and then we didn't see each other after that. And, his whole thing was, that was my last concert. I didn't take it as seriously as I should have. And I look back on it now, and I'm telling myself moving forward now, not to take anything for granted. It could be the last opportunity you have. Every time you're together is special right now. And he imparted that wisdom on his peers, which was super cool, but something that us as directors need to keep reminding ourselves as well, and to put it out there to the students as often as we can. Hey, this is a special time. This is special. This is sacred. Let's not waste it, because it could be taken away at any moment. And, I think in a lot of instances, that's going to inspire kids and teachers to want to just make the best of every moment that they have together. And that can be, like Avious said, make it a very special kind of season, and something that we wouldn't expect.
Indeed. Be in the now, be present. That's great. Brother Dean, take us home, man. Final parting words.
No pressure. I would say a few things. First of all, I want to quickly speak to choral educators, as we are Music for All. And I know we didn't get time to get into that, but I would simply say to anybody, or if you have a choral colleague that is feeling the anxiety, the Avon Community Schools just shared today a pretty cool 3-minute video, and part of it features one of our choir directors, Leah Trigg, and she's amazing, talking about how choir is going and how much it means. It's kind of speaking to what these guys have been talking about, the kids being back, but also some of the masking and safety precautions we're taking. So that could be a resource. And it was just shared on social media by the Avon Community School Corporation. So I wanted to throw a little love to our choir directors. And I want to reinforce what both of these guys are saying, that the kids make it so infinitely better. And even 5 weeks in, and this is weird, and I say this again as a dude who's going to turn 50 this year and is a lifelong asthmatic, but 99% of my anxiety happens here at home outside of school, worrying about maybe the next thing. And it's once I'm there in the building with them respectfully wearing their masks in this way, like you, side note, you will see the leadership qualities of your students and the respectfulness. Don't worry about the mask thing. I mean, worry about making them wear their masks, but don't worry about them following through on it, because music kids will be great role models for your school. So the anxiety is going to be there. The kids are going to make it better. And then the last thing I would say, especially as you think about the class of 21, knowing that it is going to be a different experience and it's into the unknown. We don't know. We know what marching band is or isn't, and we don't know what the spring is going to look like. But I'm gonna give one final Greg Bim name drop because it changed my life. But I think it was like the second time I brought Stephen F. Austin up to Grand Nats, and I was totally freaking out and stressed. And I was young. And I remember he pulled me aside and he said, don't think about each year with your kids as a ladder, where we were this rung on this year and first place rung and the fourth place rung and the fifth place rung. And he basically said, stop thinking of it as a ladder and start thinking of it as a tree. I say this to the Bluecoats at the banquet every year at the end of the year, that if this is a year where we can't think of it like, well, because I can't get a trophy or, achieve this goal, I can't have something on the ladder. Where are we on the ladder? It's a tree. And every branch and every leaf is unique and beautiful. And even in competitive seasons, some branches might be higher on the tree and lower on the tree, but they're all beautiful and they're all unique. And this is a great opportunity for us to press a reset or to reaffirm the values that we know we believe in. I find myself doing both. It's reaffirming the things that I know I'm doing right, and it's making me rethink the things that I know I can do better. And this is an opportunity for us to do all of those things. So trees, not ladders.
Very cool. Music for All's mission is to create, provide, and expand positively life-changing experiences through music for all. We strive to be a catalyst to ensure that every child across America has access and opportunity to active music making in every young person's scholastic environment. I want to thank our friends Avious Jackson, Joni Perez, and Dean Westman. Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure. I'd like to give my most sincere gratitude to my friends at Yamaha. We are so proud to have the Yamaha Corporation of America as Music for All's national presenting sponsor. And I've got to say, the Yamaha Educator Suite is something I encourage you to lean on as a valuable resource. Check it out on the web address listed in our credits. And before we say goodnight, it is important for me to mention now, really more than ever, that these uncertain times continue to impact Music for All, and we are completely grateful for the donations gifted to our nonprofit organization. If you enjoyed tonight's program, and in order for us to continue to provide our free resources, educational-wise, please consider gifting to Music for All at any amount. Your gift truly allows us to serve our mission with future educational programming like this webinar. Please visit us online at the web address listed in our credits. And finally, join our next show next month, Thursday, September 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, with our friends Melissa Gustafson-Hines, Jarrell Horton, and Brody McDonald. Thank you for being with us tonight. For Music for All, I'm James Stevens. Good night, and have a pleasant tomorrow.